Well, Australia's smashed a goal 22 years ahead of schedule, but some in Canberra are on edge. As we race towards a population of 25 million, there are calls for immigration intake to be slowed. Here's political editor Chris Uhlmann.
Australia's population is booming, putting more cars on the roads and more pressure on housing.
The great bulk of population growth is actually happening in our major cities.
Last year, Australia grew by 388,000 people to 24,770,000. Births minus deaths accounted for 147,500 of that, but the biggest driver was the 240,400 in net migration. That also drives economic growth, building big businesses and small ones like Western Australia's Borello cheese.
This is a classic Australian story.
But pressure is mounting to slow the rate of growth. One senator wants an inquiry because he says bad planning has put cities under stress.
Population growth that has been poorly predicted, population growth that has been poorly planned for.
In 2002, projections showed Australia would hit 25 million people in 2042. 5 years on, the date leapt forward to 2027. By 2010, it was expected in a decade. Now, the population clock will tick over 25 million in early August. The permanent migration intake has come down to 160,000 this year.
So that's actually the lowest it's been in 10 years.
Immigration has a lot of moving parts that all add up to a bigger population, and Labor is targeting temporary workers.
Temporary visas, which give them the right to work in Australia. 1.6 million people now.
And as cities get more crowded, this debate will grow. Chris Uhlmann, 9 News.
Malcolm Turnbull has given the green light for a new inquiry into Australia's immigration program as pressure mounts to cut our annual intake. The Prime Minister has launched a passionate defence of his government's policy, reviving a familiar catch cry.
A new twist.
We decide who comes here in our national interest.
On an old rallying cry.
We will decide who comes to this country and the circumstances in which they come.
Malcolm Turnbull defends the reduction in Australia's immigration program.
We use it as essentially a recruiting exercise.
And with our population set to hit 25 million next month, years ahead of schedule, West Australian Liberal Senator Dean Smith wants a Senate inquiry into whether Australian cities can cope.
To make sure that infrastructure spending and public confidence is maintained.
There have been 2 government reports into immigration in the past year, but Mr Turnbull's open to another.
There's plenty of scope for that.
But mostly Malcolm Turnbull's open to talking immigration at every opportunity, knowing with the Super Saturday by-elections nearing, it is traditionally the Coalition's strong point with voters.